The fog rose slowly, suffocating and heavy, as if it wanted to wrap the entire city in a cloak of mystery. The biting cold penetrated to the bones, while the night slowly fell, amplifying the sense of loneliness that dominated that evening. Behind the imposing walls of one of the most prestigious villas in the city, Guido Grimaldi, a man the world considered invincible, wandered restlessly. His residence was a sumptuous mansion, with halls with walls covered in frescoes, antique furniture, and precious carpets. But that evening, for the first time, Guido found no comfort in the luxury or majesty that surrounded him. Something much more important tormented him, an anguish that not even success, wealth, and power could calm. Before continuing, subscribe to our channel and activate the bell. Guido had built an empire, amassing fortunes through years of work, investments, and bold decisions. He was a feared and respected man, one of the most influential in the country. Yet, despite all this, he felt vulnerable. Doubt had crept into him like an invisible blade, sharp and painful. Did Sarah, the woman who claimed to love him, really love him? Or was she simply attracted by the power and money he offered her? Sarah was a young woman of extraordinary beauty, a vision of grace and perfection that attracted the gaze of all who met her. Her long, silky hair framed a face with delicate features and deep eyes. She was 30 years old, but her bearing and elegance seemed to belong to a timeless era. For 8 months, she had been Guido's fiancée, and he, from the beginning, had felt bewitched by her. But now, their love seemed to slip away like sand between his fingers. Lately, Guido had noticed a change in Sarah. She, who once seemed to find happiness in simple evenings spent together, now seemed drawn to a life of pomp, social parties, and luxury. The moments of intimacy they once shared had become rare. Guido saw how Sarah's eyes shone with enthusiasm only when they spoke of gala dinners, exotic trips, and expensive gifts. Every day, he felt her more distant, more attracted to what money could buy her, rather than the man who was next to her. That evening, as he walked thoughtfully through his villa, Guido decided he could no longer bear the doubt. He could not live in uncertainty. He had to discover the truth, even if he knew that the truth could destroy him. It was then that he devised a bold plan, as cruel as it was necessary. He would pretend to have lost everything. He wanted to see if Sarah would remain by his side even in poverty. The next day, Guido put his plan into motion. He summoned Sarah to his villa for a conversation that would change their lives forever. When Sarah arrived, the villa was immersed in a silence that seemed almost oppressive. Guido was waiting for her in the large living room, sitting in a dark, velvet armchair. The fire in the fireplace crackled faintly, but it did not warm the cold atmosphere that had created between them. "Guido," Sarah said, entering the room with her usual elegant stride. "What is it? You seem so serious." Her tone was soft but slightly distant. He looked at her for a long moment before speaking, his heart pounding in his chest. "I have to tell you something," he began, trying to keep his voice under control. "I lost everything." The words fell between them like a bolt from the blue. Sarah stood still for a moment, her face crossed by an expression of disbelief. "What do you mean?" she asked in a tense voice. "How? You lost everything? You're kidding, right?" "Bad investments, scams," Guido replied, with a serious expression. I lost everything. The companies, the vineyards, everything. We have nothing left." The silence that followed was cold. Sarah looked down, and for a long moment she said nothing. Guido watched her carefully, trying to catch every nuance of her behavior. Sarah seemed to be calculating something, as if she were already thinking about the consequences. Then she looked up, but her eyes were not full of comfort or understanding as Guido had hoped. "Guido," she said, her voice controlled, "you know I love you, but this situation is really difficult. I never imagined I would find myself in a situation like this. I need time to think." Those words pierced Guido like a sharp blade. Even though he had prepared himself for that possibility, hearing the confirmation of what he feared devastated him. Sarah rose from the chair, gave him a quick kiss on the cheek, and, without looking back, left the room. In the days that followed, the distance between them became more and more evident. Sarah seemed elusive, almost unreachable. Her calls became rarer and rarer, and when Guido managed to speak to her, she made excuses, talking about commitments or tiredness. The romantic dinners they once shared were replaced by long absences and awkward silences. Guido bitterly realized that his plan had worked, but not in the way he had hoped. He had discovered the truth. Sarah was not willing to stay with him if she lost everything. Her loyalty was tied to the material well-being that he guaranteed her. Weeks later, Guido decided to confront her one last time. He invited her to dinner at a modest restaurant, far from the lights and luxury Sarah was used to. When she arrived, Guido immediately noticed the coldness in her eyes. They sat down opposite each other, the silence between them tense. Halfway through dinner, Sarah finally spoke. "Guido," she said in a firm voice, "I've thought a lot about us, and I can't go on like this. I need stability, security. I don't think we can continue together." Sarah's words were like a final blow to Guido. He felt the weight of their relationship collapse on him, crushing him. Sarah stood up, leaving Guido alone at the table. She looked at him one last time, then turned and left, without looking back. Left alone, Guido reflected on the meaning of that evening. He had lost Sarah, the woman he thought he loved. But the truth, however bitter, was necessary. He understood that their love was based on illusions, and now that those illusions were gone, nothing remained. A few days later, Sarah was in a trendy cafe with some friends. As they discussed the latest trends, Sarah couldn't stop thinking about Guido. His disappointed expression, the pain in his eyes, were images she couldn't get out of her head. Suddenly, a conversation at the next table caught her attention. Two women were talking about Guido, revealing the rumors that were circulating in the environment. The entire bankruptcy had only been a setup to test his girlfriend's love. Sarah was paralyzed. The truth hit her with unexpected violence. Guido had never lost anything. He had just wanted to find out if she really loved him. With a heavy heart, Sarah quickly got up and left the cafe. She knew she had to find Guido and try to make amends. She ran to the villa, only to discover that he had moved to his country estate. Determined to make amends, Sarah rushed there, hoping it wasn't too late. When she knocked on the door, her heart was pounding in her chest. Guido opened it, and his gaze was cold, distant. "Sarah, why did you come?" he asked in a cautious voice. "Guido, please listen to me," she begged. "I found out everything. I know I was wrong, but I really love you. Please give me another chance." Guido stared at her for a long time, silent. Then, in a firm voice, he said, "I can't go back, Sarah. Our love should have been unconditional, and you chose my wealth, not me." Guido's words were like a sentence. Without saying anything else, he turned and went back into the house, leaving Sarah alone in the growing darkness. What Sarah had lost, she understood in that moment, was not just a man, but true love, the kind that is priceless. Did you like this story? Leave a comment below. Thanks for watching the video till the end, and see you next story.